I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. Every year around this time in the spring, I have to do one of these blogs because we're now coming up into our busiest time for real estate. The spring market runs from late March through until mid-May. Tends to be the busiest time for real estate, lots of new listings, and it's our most active time of the year. So every year for the last 7 years, I've done a blog here on if you're going to list your house this spring, you want to get maximum selling price, and who doesn't, then you want to be careful or make sure you follow the rules that I'm going to tell you here. There are two things that I see people, the biggest mistakes I see sellers make, and they are leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table unbeknownst to them by making these two mistakes that I see play out on the MLS every single day. And I'm involved in the transactions on the buying side with some of these people that I just have to shake my head at sometimes. And unbeknownst to the seller, they don't realize how much money they have just left on the table. In a lot of cases, they think, hey, we've done great, sold it quick, or I sold it with my tenant in there and didn't have to pay the tenant another month's rent to get him out. They assumed my tenant and I got full ask. I can tell you, you should have gotten 40, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 over asking price if you would have listed it right with a realtor who knows how to list those properties and how to handle the sale. So I'm going to give you the two things, and this is probably the 6th or 7th blog I've done on this. Every spring I got to do this. But these are the two biggest mistakes that sellers make, and you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table. The first one is you are listing and selling your home, and as you know, if it's a condo, if it's a detached home, let's put that off to the side right now because the detached market is probably favoring buyers now, balanced in some cases, but probably favoring the buyer in most cases now. But for condos and townhomes, which is the vast majority of the market here, it is still a strong, crazy seller's market. You should be, if it's a good unit and it doesn't have issues with the strata, you should be getting into multiple offers here. The biggest mistake I see is people selling their home, and I see it every time on the MLS, with 0 days on market, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days on market, which is crazy. Even if you get a full price offer, or even if you've got a $600,000 condo and somebody offers you $625,000 on day one, do not take it. I know it's tempting. Maybe sometimes the realtor's telling you to take it. Look at this, we got $25,000 over ask on day one. You're crazy. Do not take it. You have simply not exposed the property. The whole key to selling a home for maximum price is to get the home out there, get realtors, get buyers to look at it, tour the home, and then look at offers 7 to 8 to 9 days down the road. If you're selling your home with 0, 1, or 2 days on market, you simply have not exposed the home. You can't. It can't be done in 0 or 1 or 2 days. There's no way. And if you haven't run at least one open house as well. So the way to do it, the way I list and the way I've been listing now for the last 4 years in this crazy seller's market, I like to list my homes on a Monday or Tuesday, get on the MLS. I run an agent's open Wednesday or Thursday evening. We call it kind of a sneak peek where the realtors that are welcome to bring their clients can come through and tour the home. I run an open house Saturday and Sunday, 2 to 4. I leave Monday open for home inspections if someone wants to get a pre-inspection done, because we want to get subject-free offers here. We don't want financing clauses and inspection clauses. We're getting into a bidding war here, and if you want any chance in a bidding war, you better be coming in subject-free. So I give them a day there for those people that want to can get a home inspection done. However, the strata docs are all going to be available, and that's in depreciation report, whatever you need, which will give you a pretty good idea on the condition of the unit and the strata. That's how you achieve maximum selling price. You want to create a circus-like atmosphere, and if you were a seller and I was your listing realtor, you'd want the same thing if you were the seller. Now, if you're a buyer and you can put an offer in on day 1 or day 2, go for it. It's fantastic. Doesn't happen a lot, but I've been involved in it many times where I've gone in, sure enough, they'll take an offer on day 1. I'll give them full ask. I'll give them $10,000 over asking, knowing full well, no competition. They'll take the offer, knowing full well that if I wait until next week, if they did it properly and did holdbacks, I'm not going to be able to get this unit for $10,000 over ask. I'm going to be in a bidding war, and this is going to sell probably at $50,000 or $60,000 over ask. So never take it or even look at offers in the first 3 or 4 days. And you have to write it into the contract of purchase and sale now. It has to be in the contract. It's called holdbacks, and that the seller has to agree to that. So when I list the home, I'm listing it, and I'm going to have the on what we call the Schedule A, the seller agree that we are not going to look at offers until next week. And I'll give you another interesting stat on how I know that by marketing it and leaving it exposed for at least 8 or 9 days will always get you the highest price. It will net you the most money every time. 50% of the time I list a home, a good condo or a good townhouse, and I'm doing holdbacks, we will often receive what we call a bully offer. Even though I've said that offers won't be presented until next Tuesday at 8 p.m., a savvy realtor will come in, and I've done it myself too, and said, I've got an offer for you. And as a listing realtor, I have to present all offers. It's what we call a bully offer. Even though I'm saying I'm not looking at offers till next week, if you rate me an offer, I have a fiduciary duty to present that to my seller. Oftentimes these bully offers will be at full ask, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 over asking. They can look pretty tempting. I will present it to my seller. My seller will ask me, Owen, what should I do here? That's a nice offer. I could sell it quick. $40,000 over ask. What do you think I should do? Well, it's up to you, Mr. Seller. You make the final decision. However, I have always advocated, told my clients to reject this offer. Let's see this through. Let me do the agents' opens. Let me do the open houses on the weekend. Let me do the showings, get some people through the house, and we will look at offers on Tuesday. Here's the thing. In the last 5 years, I bet I've had, off the top of my head, at least 10 sales where I've received a bully offer. And guess what? Come offer night, that bully offer looked terrible compared to the bidding war and the offers you get the following week. And I can tell you, every single time, the bully offer has also been weighted back into the market on offer night. And guess what? Instead of offering $20,000 over ask with the bully offer, now he's up to $30,000 or $40,000 because now he's got 7 other parties he's competing against. So do not ever sell your home with 1, 2, 3 days on market. You're leaving a pile of money on the table. This is why as well, when you're getting ready to list a house, you should interview at least 2 or 3 realtors for the job and make sure these realtors are listing pros, experts. I'm happy to volunteer. I'm happy to apply to audition for the job. My presentation will take 20 minutes. I'll leave you my marketing material. I'll leave you some of my recent solds, how I would handle the sale, what we should list at, how we're going to market it, when we're going to look at offers. Thanks for your time. Call me if you'd like to use my services. In and out in 20, 25 minutes, I'll answer your questions. You should do that with 2 to 3, 4 realtors if you want. You know, listing with your friend Bob, your high school buddy, or your beer league goalie, I wouldn't recommend it. You're selling the most valuable asset you own. You should leave it in the hands of the pros. And I see stuff every single day that is not handled right. Second thing, that area that people leave a pile of dough on the table without knowing it, is selling a tenanted property with their tenant in it. And I've done so many blogs on this. I see this mistake made over and over and over again. I'll keep it simple here. When you're selling a downtown Vancouver condo, let's say it's a 1-bedroom, $600,000 condo in Yaletown. There are lots of investor clients that are buying condos in Vancouver. However, they make up the minority of the buyers. The majority of the buyers are first-time buyers, people that want to buy that home and move into the home. They're not interested in a tenanted property. They don't want to assume your tenant. Oftentimes I will see people that are selling tenanted properties that still have 6 months left on the lease, 8 months. I saw one recently. They just renewed the lease for another year. So what you're doing here is you're eliminating probably 80% of your buyers. Maybe 20% are investors. So you're shrinking your potential buyer pool by 80% by having a 3, 4, 5, 6 month tenancy still tied to your unit. The better way to do this, when someone calls me up and says, Owen, I want to sell my investment property and it's tenanted. On the phone, I will ask them, well, what is the tenancy? When does it end? Is it a fixed term tenancy? When does that expire? If it expires in a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, it's fixed term, I'll tell them, call me back in 3 months. Let's wait until just before the tenancy ends. Let the tenant leave. You're not going to renew it. We'll clean the unit up. Now it's vacant. I don't have showing restrictions from an unruly tenant where I can only show it during certain times. It's vacant, easy to show, and the completion dates can be defined by the buyer, and now we're opening up the entire pool of buyers. If an investor wants to buy it, great. He can buy it and put a tenant in, his own tenant, which is what good investors want to do. They don't want to assume tenancies. You can, but usually these tenancies are at low rents because they've been in there for many years. You haven't done the screening on the tenant. You don't know who the tenant is. I recommend to my investor clients, when you can, get your own tenant in there. Do your own screening. You can charge what you want. You don't have to assume it. So now you've opened up the entire pool of buyers here. The more buyers, the better their offers are going to be. Get to give you a story here. I had one 2 weeks ago on a downtown condo. Tenancy still had 6 months left, and the tenancy was furnished. It was a furnished unit. The seller on this unit wanted for you to assume the tenancy. He wanted a quick closing. He didn't. No seller is going to want you to close this thing out 7 months later. So he was wanting potential buyers to assume the tenancy. This tenant was paying $1,600 a month for a furnished unit. She had been in there for about 4 years. The going rate for a furnished unit in there was more like $2,400, $2,500. But of course, if you're going to assume the tenancy and it's furnished, they're also wanting you, of course, now to buy. You have to buy all this crappy IKEA furniture that's in there as well. So all offers that are closing in the next month or two and assuming the tenant, we're going to include furniture, which you don't want. So you had to buy the crappy furniture. So talk about limiting your potential buyer pool here. Now this unit ended up selling and it sold for a little bit over asking. It was a good unit. The new buyer would have assumed the tenant for the next 6 months, furnished, bought the crappy furniture at a low rent. But if that would have been handled properly, if it was me, I would have told this seller, let's wait for the tenant to leave, for the tenancy to end. Let's get your crappy IKEA furniture out of there. Let's list it and sell it vacant, and we're opening up that entire pool. They got a little over asking, but they should have had 50 or 60,000 over asking if I would have handled the sale. So unbeknownst to them, they think, well, gee, I made off pretty good. I got 10,000 over ask. They bought my crappy IKEA furniture off me, and they assumed my tenant for the next 6 months. It's hassle-free. It's hassle-free for the seller, but that just cost you $50,000. To me, I would have done it the right way and kept that $50,000 in my pocket because that's what they gave up. So I see this stuff all the time here. And it just tells me that they're not, and if someone really wants to do that, I have sold units with a tenant in it because the guy has told me, Owen, the tenancy doesn't end for 6 months. I gotta sell it. I've got some financial issues. I've gotta pay. I need to sell it. It could be a divorce. There's a myriad of reasons, and they tell me, Owen, I gotta sell it with the tenant in. Fine, we will sell it with the tenant. Hopefully you're on good terms and I can show it. It might be on a month-to-month tenancy, so in that case, from the time we get a firm deal, subjects are removed, you have to give the tenant 2 clear months, which is okay, for the new buyer then to come in and either live in it or as a principal residence they want, but you need 2 clear months. So we can do it. And I'll tell them, I can get you the best price I can, and I can still get them a good dollar for it. However, I could do better if we got the tenant out, cleaned it up, vacant. Dates can be 3 months, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. We don't have to wait 2.5 months to get the tenant out. It's just a much cleaner sale that will net you far more money. The other thing, final thing I'll point out, this is why you need a realtor who knows how tenancy law works. There's a form that a lot of people don't know called a mutual agreement to end tenancy. It's a mutual agreement. You're the seller, the owner of the unit, and your tenant have to agree to it. So even if someone has a 6-month fixed term tenancy still left, we can get that tenant out in 5 or 6 weeks if we wanted to. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to agree, the tenant's going to have to agree to be out at a certain date using this form. You're going to have to give that tenant 1 month anyways, if you're breaking the lease or not renewing a tenancy month to month. But to sweeten the pot, you're going to have to offer them as motivation to get out early. give them another month's rent. So give them 2 months' rent. So compensate them $4,000 total. You're going to have to give them 2 anyways. Well worth the money spent. Because now you can set a date. They'll be out in 6 weeks. We'll give you $4,000. You're out. We can clean it up, list it. It's open to the entire pool of potential buyers, investors, but more importantly, people that want to move into it and don't want to assume a tenant for 6 months. So that's a tool that I've used many times, and it's well worth it. That extra $2,000 you're going to pay, I'll get that back for you 5-fold in the final selling price. I don't know if a lot of realtors even know about it. And think about it from the tenant's perspective. Whenever I've had to use this, which isn't a lot, but I've used it, quite a few times over the years, the tenant knows that, hey, I've got 6 months left on my lease. Sure, legally I can stay, and they can. But after 6 months, I'm out of here anyways. They're going to sell it. The new buyer's either going to assume that my tenancy for the next 6 months, and then I'm out. So here we are giving you an extra $2,000. We'll give you 5 weeks to get out. In my experience, most tenants will jump on it because they're going to be out anyways. Why not get out early? And they're going to give me another $2,000. Remember these 2 things: selling it too quick and selling a tenanted property. Again, it's why you want to interview multiple realtors and get some different opinions on how to go about the sale. Because you're leaving tens of thousands of dollars on the table when you're doing those things. All realtors aren't created equal. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, I'll see you next time.